that you will have a great time. And also I would like to thank our master's teachers that they came so we can have a great discussion on that topic at hand with them. Now, since not all the students had an opportunity to take courses or all the music courses, I think that we can start with a very short introduction for all the master teachers. They can just introduce themselves to you so we'll get to know them better.
Yes. Great to be here. It's really amazing. I'm Endre Ascsillán, part of MÜZLI family from the beginning, 6-7 years ago. We started. Pragmatical knowledge, this is really we would like to share with you experiences, pragmatism, understand what's going on in the world. In my other cap, I'm working for nuclear sector. I'm Global Chief Government Affairs and also Global Business Development Leader of EDF. Regarding the new field plans. That's all. And I'm a father of 3 daughters. That's another very important.
Oh.
Exactly.
Okay, I will introduce myself. I'm Ino Mirkovic, father of 3. 3 mothers. Okay, so yes, I'm as artist and violinist. I'm ambassador of UNESCO for 24 years. I'm president of the management company based in Switzerland.
Hello everybody, and thank you very much for the invitation. It's really great place here. So my name is Tünde, and I'm originally from Debrecen. This is my home city. I was born here, but when I was 18, I left the city. I went to Budapest because at the time I thought that that's the only way where I can really get a good career in Budapest. And I started my career at PwC Hungary. And then after 12 years, I moved to Germany, PwC Germany, and my specialization is investment and state aid. After Germany, where my son was born, so I'm a mommy of a son, I'm a proud mommy of the son of my son, I returned back to Hungary. It could be a good question why I returned, because this is my home. And then I started working at the Hungarian Investment Promotion Agency. So I was on the governmental side, let's say, negotiator in terms of those companies which probably will be your future employer here in Debrecen. So my task was to sell Hungary. My product was Hungary. Okay? So this was not an easy task. But this was really very exciting 7 years. And after that 7 years, after HIPAA, I returned back to PwC. And at PwC, we had a kind of decision to make a new office here in Debrecen, surprise, because we really see that this is the future here, and from the Hungarian economic point of view, PwC should be here. Right now I'm leading this office, and I would like to build this office big. Okay, so this is my past. Thank you.
Hello, this is Attila. I'm Ferik. I'm a software engineer by heart, but I didn't really code in the last 15 years alone. GitHub Copilot is a very good friend of mine, so I'm still coding and actually better code every day than I was 15 years ago. I'm one of the founding member of this MÜZLI initiative and institution here in Debrecen. My life is 100%, so I have a connection. No kids, but 7 cats. I'm leading building software engineering analytics teams through my career. Currently I'm working for Allianz technology and delivering solutions for the insurance business. I think we are producing a lot of money through data for the company and then through that for our customers as well, because that is very important that all that analytics is actually serving our customers to enable us to push down the cost of insurance. And then the last information about me is that I am hiring as well. We are looking for talents as well. We are running programs for graduates. We are running programs for university students, and we are providing. Actually, we are defining tasks, and then we are paying money for your time and for your effort, so you can really. Those tasks are helping us to move further ahead as a company, and in return we are contributing to your education, to your
Hello everybody, my name is Zsolt Bertalan. I'm also founder of Ino. I own one. Actually, I'm from Debrecen, so unfortunately not from Debrecen. But actually my wife is quite nice. She's a small village. Yeah, it's good enough. It's close to here, I can say that. My background, I'm an engineer and an economist as well. And I spent almost 25 years in the MVM group. MVM is the largest state-owned energy utility in Hungary. I had many different roles in the group. I led the transmission system operator company. The CEO also funded the Hungarian Energy Exchange. And lately I was responsible as Chief Technology Innovation Officer of the whole MVM group. I was responsible for research and development and innovation. Hence, I actually learned the design thinking methodology that I teach here in Debrecen. It's a kind of agile methodology that I like very much. It's practical, it is very well funded, and it is applicable not only in innovation, but also in many other areas as well. I'm also hiring because I just left 2 years ago in the group, and I'm now running my own companies and develop a software solution. So I'm hiring software engineers and code developers. I don't want to rely on the AI, but also human thinking as well. So
Give me the microphone.
Since our topic is education and most of you study abroad or work abroad or have some connection or live abroad basically, my first question is going to be to Endre. You studied half a year in Italy, is that correct? I believe yes. Okay, it was one. And then last year you went to Singapore, where you also basically started unlocking the education system there. So my question is, can you just highlight the main things the main differences between the education system in Western Europe and the education system in Asia? And what are the most, let's say, differences between them and most interestingly involved education system, and what are the things that you believe that we are missing here in our
Thank you. It's a very hard analysis. I'm going to try to be very, very short. One thing, my opinion is, you need to go out. I'm telling to you, 99% of you, it's coming to here to learn. But I think it's very important, and I hope that you share my opinion, because you selected higher education institute, you know, outside of your country. And you are much more professional than me to understand what that means at the end. But I think to understand other cultures are so important. That's very important. This is the first. Don't stop just at one station. I think that this could be very interesting to make a rotation. And as Tünde said, and I think it's very important, just because I want to come home, you will have, trust me, and you will, after several years' experiences, you will get the understanding that go home. You will see at that situation, no worries. But I think it's very important at your age to go, be open, and listen and learn the other cultures. You can synthesize afterwards fantastic. Singapore. I think that if you need to compare Singapore and Hungarian higher education system, I think it's very important, the pragmatism. And you know, Singapore, the ruler in Singapore, the whole entire government has a really big belief, means social engineering. If you are talking about social engineering in this part of the world, that is something so negative. In Singapore, this is something which gives a backbone of the whole entire society. Social engineering means that everything is so analyzed. Just from the labor market, just is very important, very easy, you know, to point it out. They just give work permits for 1 year. In this year, we're missing, you know, the doctors. We give permits for the doctors for 1 year. Next year, the statistics are better, we don't give it. And we ask kindly, you know, the people to go home. Exactly the same in digitalization and in every and each industry. Second, they have already 2 universities which are in the top 20 of the world. But from the primary school and also in the high school and also in the universities, always national students. Every time. Which is very hard because very easy from the very beginning, you know, to be out from the system. But if you're part of the system, they analyze that which type of attitude you have. It's not a very simple analysis. It's a very diverse analysis what they do regarding the needs. But the government is ready to sponsor whole entire education. And the most important is that they really would like to keep the talents inside. How they do it? For the best talents, give full scholarship to the best universities of the world. Top 100, you can select the top 100, and they pay your scholarship fee, they pay your home and living and everything. But after you need to go home, and for 15 years, you need to work for the public. You meet the government from Stanford, Oxford, Cambridge, whatever, all entire people, the department leadership, etc., all top university people. They have 2 universities, top universities, but they are ready to sponsor it without any other requirements. If you are a talent, you have good points, you can go, and the scholarship is yours, and after 15 years from your life in the public administration. Why? Because they believe 40, 50 years ago, the most important for a very small village, which is Singapore, you know, with the harbor, which is a very important job, by the way, the second largest at the globe, you know, for the transit port point of view, that this little harbor needs to invest into the knowledge. Measurement is important. Here now, you know, looks like sometimes so chaotic what we would like to teach and how. But I think we have heritages, very important heritages. For example, in Hungary, I don't know that which faculties you are, but from the 13 faculties, you know, the pharmaceutical, the medical, even the economics and others, you know, have a very important heritages. Agriculture as well. Heritages in the combination of the new paradigm, that could be so interesting from your perspective and from your point of view. And don't forget something. Most of the innovation happened here in Europe in the past. Now it's happening somewhere else. It don't mean that you cannot learn here. You can learn here a lot. The reason why the innovation is not happening here in Europe or this part of Europe, but more in Switzerland, more in Singapore, more in the US, because of the commercialization, because of the venture of value from the innovation, and the result of innovation is going to the real product, become real services, and the business environment is much more
easy going for an entrepreneur. Why? Because of the big English language market. To establish a startup, you need to calculate with your market. If you have a market with 360 million plus the rest of the world who speaks English, or the licenses of the Americans, or the licenses of this world is acceptable, you have a much more easygoing to get financing, much easygoing to get talent, much more easygoing, to establish your own. This is the reason why the innovation is happening in different countries than Central Europe and Europe. We are facing that. We need to do more of that. But what I would like to tell you, the magnet on the Singapore type of thinking, you can do it in Singapore, you cannot do it in other places. You need a small state for that, with the very well analyzed needs of the society, and afterwards you need to provide something special. Singapore is almost a tax-free, it's something special for the industry and also for the business. But it's pretty unique. I think it's, frankly, I would like to answer in the shortest version, it's kind of number 2, but you can learn a lot the pragmatism, how important the practical knowledge as early as it is possible during your education. Sorry for that.
Thank you for the question. I just forget you guys that you can feel free to ask any question anytime. If you think that you have any question, just look to any of the master students, just feel free to ask, and I can hand you the mic to ask a question. Now, I just want to point out that Zsolt, I heard that you studied at Stanford University in the US.
Yeah, but it was an online.
But yes, can you just...
It wasn't physical. It's a course. Yes, I studied Stanford University, GSB, Executive Education, and I studied corporate innovation because when I started to deal with innovation, I thought that first you have to learn something about it before you start doing it. So I went to the origin of innovation, let's say that, which is Silicon Valley, and especially with Stanford University. It was 1 year, 8 courses. It was really brilliant, even if it was online. I mean, the technology behind that was superb. The syllabus was really, really great, and especially it was good that there were, let's say, a couple of hundreds of students from all over the world participating on this course. So it was really a good opportunity to learn from other people coming from very different continents and to network them. It was really a very good experience. And actually I'm an alumni, so I have the opportunity to go back and take other courses. I usually decide that every 2 years that I will take another course as well because it was so good. What is very different compared to the Hungarian let's say, way or method of teaching is that they are absolutely focusing on practical knowledge. So each and every week you have to, let's say, solve a problem, deliver a solution or something, a study or things like that. So it's not like just one way of giving the knowledge from the best and the highest professors, but also you have to also participate in it. That's what I copied into my classes. So anybody will sit in my classes. I mean, they have to work and then also deliver the homeworks week by week. So this is coming from Stanford.
Can I comment on this one? It is just as a software engineer, especially as an engineer, we always tend to know better, or we think we know better what the end user is running at. This is not true. And then I learned the hard way that first the exact definition of the problem and the exact definition of what the users need and how they would like to use the product, that it be a software or a nuclear power plant, really. it requires a lot of design thinking and a lot of design work before we even start write the first line of software code. And design thinking is very important, and design is very important to make sure that the product that you are delivering, you are working on, is going to be successful in the end. And I really would like to encourage everyone to think differently when they have a solution, or when you have any problem to solve. Is just make sure that you properly define what is the real problem, what is need to be happen, what is the actual outcome you would like to see, and when you are clear that what is it, then you can start to create and design the steps of the solution. So go and make sure that you have a very good understanding of the problem.
Thank you very much. So my next question is for you, Ino. I know that you did your PhD in Russia. Can you give us a few highlights about the, let's say, good part of it, and also the things that you were facing as challenges while you were doing your PhD there?
Well, I need to explain in this way. I started to study violin when I was 5 years old. And I started to be the youngest student in the University of Music Academy in ex-Yugoslavia when I was 14. So I finished the first university when I was 18. And then I realized that I don't know how to play violin. So then I went to Moscow. Why? I could choose or New York or Moscow. And my choice of Moscow was because there was no social life, there was no bars, restaurants, so you have to stay in the student practice where you think. So I was not disturbed for this. Then, from the master, I asked to be transferred again to the first class of university, Moscow Conservatory, so I again finished university. Then I make my artistic doctorate, and then I make my PhD. So I just explained that it was not simple. What was the difference? The difference was that there was a people, professor staff, so dedicated precisely in some tiny part of art that they knew everything. Why I made my PhD? Because there was a professor with such enormous knowledge. My choice was just to spend the time communicating with him. So I was working 7 years on my PhD, just every 2 months I went to Moscow to speak with him. Finally, he passed away, he had a cancer. Then I collected everything in my PhD. So, that was the right, so I explained you the reason. What I liked in Moscow, let me see difference between Zagreb, Academy, Music Academy in Zagreb and in Moscow. In Zagreb they said, if you practice a lot, you will be better. In Moscow they said, if you practice thinking exactly what you are doing, you don't need to practice a lot, but you will advance. In Zagreb, there was let me say, negative competition. People was liking that another will be worse because he was better. In Moscow, in university, Moscow Conservatory, people was helping each other to be better, but all together will be better. And there was one very interesting global rule of Moscow Conservatory. There was not interested of the stars, the high-level artists. They was fighting to have the highest minimum level of university. So I'm just trying to explain the differences from my point of view, but if you allow me, yes, shortly come to the history. Why it is important that you study and you go abroad? Because the idea to understand that there are so many ways of thinking, they are not unique, they are not identical, but each of them has the right to exist, which gives specific colors. So this will help you that when finally you will start to use your knowledge, you will know that this is always the beginning, that you can always advance.
Thank you very much. And my last question is for you. Since you've been working at HRPA, if I can pronounce like that, and PwC, and it was here and abroad as well, can you just give me a brief conclusion in terms of how was education important for those students who came and graduating students who were just starting their jobs there, and what was the main differences between those students in each country?
Before answering that, just a few comments about your university years and just a few recommendations. It's really, really great to see that here in Debrecen there's a huge international students community. This is really, really great. This is the strength of this city. I truly believe that. I'm really sorry that I only see few Hungarians in this discussion now. Very, very happy to see that there are many international students and bring the message that Debrecen exists. You will get a very strong education from Debrecen. What I think the most important, no matter which studies you made here, is to make connections. Because this will be the secret. This will be real important value for you for the future. Okay? You will be connected with many people in the future, and you will never know that what's going to happen with you and with your mates in the future. But you can connect very easily, and the connection will be Debrecen. Okay, so I'm really focusing on these kind of connections because we can learn so many things, we can study so many things. Here in Hungary, this is a masculine society. We really like to study a lot of theory, less practice. What's the big value is how we can connect in the future. I spent almost 5 years in Germany. Even though that Germany is really close to here, we had so many connections. It was a good experience for me personally, how I can survive in a foreign country. And it was not a kind of big thing, but it was a new approach in my life to move on. It's quite easy for us to be here, close to the money. Here in Hungary, we have very strong family roots, super strong. Okay, money is money, Sunday, cooking, eating together, and so many nice stuff. But when you are in a foreign country, as me as a Hungarian, I was there alone. My son was born in Germany, and mommy was not there. So we had to manage all these situations by myself and together with my husband. It was a really good school for me. What, for example, the German school to me is they are super precise. So if there is a problem, there should have at least 3 solutions. And you should come up with these solutions beforehand. Okay? So whenever we had to make any type of projects in Germany, it has to be very, very good from the beginning. We have to make it and discuss it and to prove it that that's the best. Okay, so that's the secret. When I returned, and in terms of the education from PwC and from the Hungarian Investment Promotion Agency, we always bring a lot of fresh graduates from the university. At the really beginning, we absolutely emphasize the importance of communication because you study a lot of things at the university, but you will be a new one in a kind of group which has a background, which has a kind of requirement, and you have to meet the requirements. You have to understand. You have to prove that you have the right of, or a level of curiosity that's fit to this. Be always curious. Be absolutely patient, because it will give you this kind of confidence that you will be the right team member. And if it doesn't fit, move on. Don't worry. You have the right people. You have absolutely possibilities, no matter where you are, because you should, think about what you would like to achieve, and you should think in yourself and believe in yourself.
Before we move, I'm still curious. How many of you financed by Stipend in Hungary? Most of you. How many of you Hungarian? For the foreigners, or for the Hungarians as well. How many of you can you imagine, I'm not talking about you will stay or not, how many of you can imagine that you will stay here? Okay, thank you. Just would like to understand.
I would like to take some questions from you guys. You have one.
Hi, my name is Eddie. I'm a master's student, and thank you very much for every word of wisdom. So my question is in two parts, especially about the job market, notwithstanding being in Hungary. As a computer science student, how important is it when you hire students, especially fresh graduates, with almost zero level of experience? What exactly is it that you are looking for, or what should you do better to stand out, given that we have no experience? Because there's a limitation that, when you're applying for jobs, there are certain requirements that might not have met. But how do we stand up as fresh graduate students? What are things that you would look for in your company?
A very strong commitment to learn. Because you know the basics, but you don't know. You haven't delivered anything yet, of course. And you see, if you have a good basics, foundation, and understanding, then you can rely on that when you have a particular project, a particular product that you have to develop. You will find the necessary tools and technologies, and you can learn the new technologies. You can learn the problem itself, and then you can put together the solution. If you know and understand the problem, and you have the skills, the technologies, then you might have a chance to deliver a solution. So the most important is that you have to have a strong commitment to learn new things.
Completely agree. This is number one. Number two, that you have to show that you are able to work in teams or team, because you will not work alone when you are working for a company. You will work as part of a group of engineers, and then in that group you will have to put in your share of work to reach the final goal of that day, of that week, of that month, and the final delivery. If you can prove that you already have experience in working with teams, within teams, then that's a big thing.
As a mechanical engineering student, just how can I go about going into that position?
I tell you the context. This is very important to understand, guys. During the last 30 years, except the Chinese, nobody built a single nuclear power plant. Because of that reason, it was not so easy. A couple of years ago, because of the climate changes, it turned out that the renewables energy, solar, wind, and others are not so effective. It's not yet there. This gentleman was the CEO of the Hungarian transmission, the grid, you know. The grid, he knows pretty well, much better than me. This is why I love him, because he understands that I don't understand, and he knows that I don't understand. But the problem is that it needs to keep balanced. And you know, if you would like to find something, a resource of the energy which is not fossil, which is, because of that reason, everybody would like to build now a nuclear power plant. To build a nuclear power plant, from your job market point of view, okay? To build a nuclear power plant, the average is 17 years, 1/7. It means that for me, it's very difficult to tell you, please come to the nuclear, because maybe during your whole life, you will work on 2 projects, in the best case scenario. That's not so sexy. Second one, someone needs to operate these newly built nuclear power plants. Just in Europe, there is an industrial common understanding that roughly 250,000 engineers are missing today. Before Angola, before Ghana, before Kazakhstan, before Uzbekistan will build a new one, before Poland will build their first power plant, just in the UK, 65,000 people missing from the ecosystem of nuclear today. Why I'm telling you today? Because there is a COP28 declaration of 30-something countries led by US. We need to triple the capacity of nuclear until 2050. What can I tell you more? Engineers are just one domain. Finance people understand the risks, understand the financing needs of the industry. Lawyers who are involved deeply in the regulatory. New technologies are coming, it always means new material, you know, medical. Nuclear is medical as well. You know that there are some medical domains. Cyber security. Where you put a hardware into a nuclear power plant to block, you know, any hacking or other things. These companies who are in the industry doing 2 things now. After the first thing, what they did. The first was, or let's say the first one, to identify the problem. The problem was nuclear during the last 60-70 years when nuclear industries exist. It was a very close group of people. Never let people inside. Very different. It was very difficult for a talent to become a member of nuclear industry. There were some center of excellences in the universities, next to the power plants, family behind, whatever, to become a nuclear engineer or be involved in nuclear. Now, the situation is changed because the demand is huge, the need is huge. Now these people open the door, and the first action is people and skills go to the universities, go to the high schools, go to the primary schools, and tell the stories that what does it mean nuclear, and how you can be involved and work for nuclear. Second one is, for sure, that if you compare it with other industries, nuclear is ready to pay the upside on the salary packages and the benefits. Why? Sometimes you need it. Nuclear power plants are really at the end of the world. In a very underdeveloped area sometimes. It's not in the middle of the city and the most sexiest part of the city. You need to imagine yourself really far from the capital, 3-4 hours from the capital, in the middle of nowhere, to build or after to operate. It's not easy to compensate, but the industry needs to compensate. Long story short, if someone new would like to become just check it on the Google, and you will find and figure it out how you can check it. As a physicist, as an engineer, for sure, or digital, or finance, or advisor, or whoever. Because nuclear is here, this is a long-term approach, and you can work on the new technologies of that. And the last but not least, just I try to speak about it. There are small modular reactors, which are more closer and closer to the cities, to the industrial parks. For example, in Debrecen, CATL would like to build batteries. For the battery making,
it's a huge demand we need. 700, 600, 700 megawatts we need. A small modular reactor can do a great job. Or keep the balance, or produce here the electricity for the grid, keep the balance in case it is needed. Next to it, there are submarines, there are nuclear aerospace discussions on the table. Very interesting and very exciting. We need to find the talent. Now it's changed. The industry hunting for the talents. During the last 70 years, the talents tried to become nuclear experts. Now it's totally.
Just one demand. I think this is a very hard choice, because once you have decided to go for it, then you have to put a lot of effort in order to be really an expert at that. Let's say 10 to 15 years you need to reach that level to be able to be responsible to operate a nuclear reactor. 10 to 15 years. Which means that if you make this decision, you will not have a chance to switch a job. Yeah. Usually at Paks Nuclear Power Station, which is still part of the MDM group, I mean, I usually have colleagues whose family also work for the partner for their whole life. Because that's so special knowledge, you cannot use it anywhere else, just in another nuclear power station.
Just something to learn, because we need to answer these questions what Zsolt raised now. That what we try to do now in the nuclear industry, that we try to replicate what renewables did a great job during the last years to make a very nice advertisement, you know, in front of the future talents, that what does it mean renewables? Very important, the rotations. Because if I would like to give you a job offer that please come to Paks, absolutely true. You will sit for 40 years in the same seat, your whole family will be there, your kids will be there, and you need to live a life which is really a stable life. But it's so boring sometimes. You would like more challenges. If you are looking for more challenges, how we can react? Do you know what? I would like to offer you 3 years here, go after Saudi for 3 years, go to France for 5 years, go to UK for 2 years, for 3 to 5, I don't know how many years, because nuclear is still a very small industry itself. You can live in different cultures and you can enjoy, you know, the life of the expats, you know, for 3-5 years. This is one of the solutions what we would like to do.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Hello, I'm Paris. I'm a computer science engineering student. Just like to ask a follow-up question for Professor Attila. You mentioned teamwork. How can one enhance his teamworking skills?
Practice. but really, I mean, you need to look for opportunities. Even at the university, there are many scholarship projects that requires some level of software engineering or engineering type of thinking. And then you need to look for those opportunities and join a group of fellow students and then work together in those projects and then be proud of them. Make sure that you shine out and then you deliver during those activities. And you can put those into your CV when you are applying for a job as a freshman. So that is my offer or suggestion at being a student, is that look out for those opportunities, because there are many, even here in Debrecen, and there are additional opportunities as well outside of the
Thank you. Also another question. With the rapid change with the technology, how do you recommend one can remain adaptable, especially with such uncertainties nowadays that you can learn something and then with the rapid change in technology and education, you don't need it anymore. And how do you recommend we can remain adaptable?
Never stop learning. It is very simple. I mean, the technology evolution, like maybe 2 years already, that in every 2 years a game changer technology is coming that that if you have a greenfield software development or product development project, then you can utilize. But I just would like to make sure that you know that when you are developing a product for the market, you will not be able to change these complicated technology stack. So the stack you select for the product need to be future-proof, and that is what is very important. That when you make a product decision, when you make a decision on what technology you use for a product, you have to ensure that product is going to be maintained and updated and security checked for a long period. Because if you start on a technology that is not maintained, then your product will die as well. So and then I always try to put policy in our development environment. Every 4 years we review the technology, we review if there is any need for major technology shift. But there are still many multi-billion-dollar activities running on IBM, mainframe, COBOL, PL1, just because that's the best for them. No one is brave enough to change. And then, yes, everybody would like to work on the most modern technology, and then I encourage you to keep your knowledge up to date, because especially when you leave the university, everybody is looking for knowledge of those technologies, and then modern technologies are always important, because those who are at the workplace, they don't really have time to learn all these new technologies. But you from the university, you can bring that knowledge in, and that could be one of the advantage of yours at the job interview when you apply for a job, is that if the company is actually planning to implement something on that new technology, you will have the experience. But after that, it is your responsibility to learn outside of your working hours and to keep up your knowledge. If you are lucky, you can join to a company which has a program for keeping your knowledge up to date and for paying your training and skills and paying for trainings. There are a few of those. Still many, maybe many of those. Because companies know that they need to invest in the future, but it is very rare that companies are always changing the latest technology. So to some extent you don't really need to, but if you would like to be relevant for the job market, for the new projects, you still need to learn.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Marwan. I'm studying computer science engineering. For the culture you were talking about, to break it down, I lived 11 years in Saudi Arabia, 2 years in Egypt, 2 years in Qatar, and 3.5 years now in Hungary. When we were back in the Middle East, the European continent was the top performance and everything, and the technology and everything. Nowadays, since I came over here to Hungary, now we hear about the Middle East and going further with the AI technology and everything. Now we can find in Germany the BMW factory over there in Munich and in Berlin having their solar panels made in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia already made its first robot built in completely with Saudi materials. Everything is happening over there, nothing from the outside of the Middle East. They have their first electric car. They have got some help from China and Egypt, and they all are working together now. So while they don't have the highest educational institutions over there, not even from the top 100 ranked universities, but they're still giving the marketplace for the work market better salaries and better better technology than what Europe has nowadays. So what's the point of the backwards going on in Europe?
I love your question, because this is a very hard to answer it. I have a couple of answers for you, okay? I think we are living a very exciting time at the time of this period because of the geopolitical reasons. But geopolitics reasons. What you see now is every day something is changing. This is very difficult to understand, I think, and this is a personal opinion. Okay guys, personal opinion. Based on my personal opinion, if you look the big supply chains, the global supply chains, the big interests, you know, including innovation, including supply chain itself, you know, to produce something, develop further something, financing, commercialization, and after go to the market, there are several of them. And the politics is followed by critical raw materials. Sorry to say, if you look this Ukrainian conflict, everybody is thinking ideological, even defense, NATO, where is the board, where it needs to be. Based on my opinion, I see a very clear picture. Critical raw materials. Third or fourth largest agriculture territories. This is the name of the game. Okay? And what I would like to tell you is the following. Europe. You are part of Europe. As you said, Europe was so great until the last decades, you know, from innovation, production, etc. point of view. We Europeans did a huge mistake. Why? Because we outsourced our defense to US. And I try to avoid the politics, okay? Today I don't touch the politics. I'm a realistic guy, I just look at the TVs and listen, you know, the people. We outsourced the defense to NATO, US. We outsourced the energy sector to Russia. And we outsourced the manufacturing to China. And now we are here and crying that we lost our really top position in innovation, economy, manufacturing, whatever. We have a lot of to-dos. 30 years ago, the aluminium or other critical raw materials was more than 80% controlled by European companies. Now, 90% of the critical raw materials are, almost 90% critical raw materials are controlled by Chinese and Russians and US. You know, there are dynamics, economical dynamics and social dynamics. Social dynamism is follow the economical one. When Europe for several hundred years becomes strong and stable and strong and stable, First World War, Second World War, some changes are there in interest, but still strong, the society starts to become a little bit lazy. And the competition is great. And what has happened now in Saudi Arabia, in Middle East, you know, in Far East as well, also in Africa, that's great. It's a reaction. You see the opportunity and you would like to become big. And in several cases you are bigger than. Or most of the cases you are bigger than. Yes, this is a Saudi Arabia produced solar power plant. Now, why? Because the technology is always follow the money. Guys, don't forget, if you work in an industry, the first question what you need to learn, follow the money. Why BMW multi-model factory will come to Debrecen? Because of three reasons. One, for the industry, the stability is everything. For production, predictability, this is the key word. This is everything. When Tünde was the vice president of the Hungarian Investment Promotion Agency and offered to BMW, she cannot talk about it because she's under confidential, but I'm not. I was there, I was not part of it, sorry to say. But she offered, first of all, a stable political environment. For the industry, from 2010, you can love it, you can hate it, you can do whatever you want, but there is a parliamentary party with two-thirds in the parliament. Do you know what does it mean for me as an industrial? Stability. No change in every fucking day, no change in every study or structures, etc. Predictability. I can calculate with the political stability. I can calculate that if a government has a strategy, pro-industry, low taxes, support for the lands, support for the new technologies. In that case, I can calculate that. Why it is important for BMW? Because BMW invests today and harvest 10 years from now. 10 years from now. 10. And you need to sit in the CEO and the C-level position in the company and tell to the shareholder that, guys, we did a great job. We find the best possible place to do it. Millions, hundreds of KPIs are there, more than 500 KPIs that Tünde agency was able 3 or 4 times to won the best agency of Europe or even globally. Recognized why? Because it was completely clearly, factually told to from the governments to the industrials that, look guys, if you invest here, we guarantee this one and this one and this one. It's very important. Very important is reliable electricity. Reliable. You know, you cannot open a manufacturing plant if there is no stable grid. I was involved in the Saudi Arabia GE deal when more than 30 CCGT, hundreds of 700 megawatts gas-fired plant was ordered. Why? Because wants to keep, you know, stable the grid between Saudi and also in Iraqi and also in Africa. You know, Nigeria has a very big challenge and a very big solid investment plan to stabilize the electricity system and the grid, because without the reliable energy you cannot move forward in your economic development. And this is very important, you know, that what Europe trying to turn back in the industry, there are some really remain top knowledge regarding, for example, manufacturing. That's very important to keep it, you know, and very important to cooperation. But long story short, what I would like to tell you, we missed the first decades of the 21st century as Europe, but you can learn a lot about the mistakes. We need to learn about our mistakes, and we need to find the new era. The last word is, do you know what is the new era in everywhere? Sovereignty. Everyone wants to become able to produce everything which is needed for the society. Sovereignty is the new flag on the door. No globalization. Sovereignty.
Thank you. Just one more question about the same thing. For now, after what I said about the Europe and the Middle East right now, what do you see is a better option for me to continue with my master's after graduating and having some work experience in Europe, or just flying them over to the Middle East, where we have a lot of opportunities like NEOM that's going to happen in Saudi Arabia, and the whole project, and they have lots of stuff that includes more than several major engineering.
The value proposition of Europe compared to Middle East, sorry to say, we have already existing ecosystems. You have very perfect environment to build ecosystems. If I were you, stay in Europe, learn more, 5, 6, 7 years, and just after go home to understand the ecosystem. What does it mean, an ecosystem? It is not just innovation, it is not just production, it is not just the services, it is not just the education system, it's everything in one. If you ask me what is the value proposition of Europe for a young talent like you, to understand ecosystems. And don't have it yet
and understand cultures and cultural differences. That is another important aspect. Because in Europe, even in this group, you can meet with a lot of different cultures, you can meet with a lot of different people, and you can learn how to deal with those guys, how to work together with those different people coming from different cultures. Because when you, after your work experience in Europe, you will go back to Saudi Arabia. You will meet the very same cultures. You will meet people from Asia, from Africa, even from Europe, and you will have already experience to work with them, which is going to be a very big market advantage of yours.
Thank you.
I think she had a question. Thank you for answering the question. My name is Hungary. I'm a master student in public health. And I wanted to ask one question in terms of, according to your words, that we all are seeking the stability, the good company can thrive and can blossom on the stability and profitability. But what we can see in the last 20 years, 25, we actually have unpredictable like political and social issues, and basically you say that Europe is not, the stability of Europe became kind of end game for Europe because Europe became too stable in terms of, okay, we outsource everything, right? And after outsourcing, we became weak in terms of we cannot offer something new, right? So basically the question is, like, for the person that is undergrad, what is the best strategy in these terms? Because nowadays we cannot see the most stable society, right? And also we know that sometimes in chaos, if you can manage the chaos, you actually can find a lot of new solutions as well. So this is the question in terms of how to navigate the instability when you are not really experienced enough and you actually don't know what to offer in the society.
It's very sad, but bad times has really helped you to go further and accelerate. And this is what I see. I fully agree with Attila. The diversification, the really diverse societies like in Europe, you cannot find anywhere else. Because this is, the Germans are really different than the French. But they need to work together. This is not like in the US. The US, many of us there, Hungarians, Nigerians, Asians, whoever, these people are, from identity point of view, Americans. There is no united Europe. Europe is really French, Denmark, Spain, Swedish, whatever people are there. These people can work together. And if you see the history, after the First World War comes the Second War. After the Second World War, when really US, they really enjoyed it, by the way, from economical point of view. Just from defense and others, for the industry itself, it was great. China, that's the same. In Russia, on the Russian territory, in Soviet Union, there was no war, practically, at that time. In the middle of Europe happened a war. It's not a little one, it's a big one, the Second World War, which maybe happened in Europe. But after this pressure, a really sad, bad pressure, Europe became the leader of innovation in the 20th centuries. And do you know what? This is what I'm making from this cultural mixture. I think in the current time, we went to the deep, we were lazy, but now we will learn from this lesson, and Europe will raise again. Very heavy, maybe we will not 1 decade but 2, but I think that it's colder. Listen.
The ones that, for example, we did in Debrecen, the best way is to embrace the European experience and not to go to their home countries. So that's the message.
My message is that better to stay, not just in Hungary, everywhere else in Europe, better to stay in Europe for 5, 8, 10 years from your life and after go. You can learn a lot. You can learn a lot here from the systematic thing, how I can tell you that the ecosystem itself, how the whole entire thing organically works together. That's, I think, one of the things minimum that you can learn here more than the other universities.
There are very good examples of still, Europe, maybe you can see bad examples. There are very good examples that Europe can really work together and create an industry and generate results that are heard. Number one, aviation. So let's just see the competition between Boeing and Airbus. Airbus is just Boeing is somewhere behind. And then Airbus is not a German company, it's not a Spanish company, not a UK company, it's not a French company. Because a single Airbus plane is built in 4 different factories and then put together into one piece and delivered as a world-class travel aircraft. That is an excellent example of how Europe can work together if everyone really wants to work together. I do not know how to finish this really, but But this, if you really look into looking for a good example for a company where you can work actually in multiple countries in Europe already, then Airbus is definitely a good target company.
Hi, my name is Rehan, civil engineering student, and I'd like to ask a question about investment and financial literacy. As we are advancing to a career, we reach at a point where we start earning salaries, and there's this tendency, all of us are moving towards achieving financial freedom. As an investment expert, what are some of the things that we should start doing, or some of the investment options that we should start considering in order to move towards the right direction in terms of achieving financial freedom? And also, what are some of the things that we should totally avoid as young people trying to understand how finances, how money works?
Today is yours.
The question is around investment and investment-related freedom. As Endre mentioned, for the investors and for the company's point of view, there are certain type of requirements that they're going to evaluate when they would like to find a new location or when they would like to make a reinvestment. And these criteria are much more complex than Endre mentioned, but one is important, of course, about the location and the kind of stability itself. Very, very important in these days. How do you see the infrastructure of the location? Okay. Infrastructure means a lot of things, not just how you can get there, how you will be received certain type of goods or raw materials or transportation type of questions. This was very critical here in, for example, Debrecen, because the international airport is absolutely a kind of decision-making point for many investors when they try to find a location. In terms of very important question is about the labor pool. The availability of the labor pool and the quality of the labor pool is also a triggering point. So the university was very, very important negotiating partner behind the scenes when BMW made a decision. When they tried to find a location, they made many discussions around the talent pool availability, the number of students, international students. We are absolutely a kind of important message for these investors. Why you are here? Because of the education, because of the quality, because of the level of this education. And of course they would like to see that, what will be the projection of the numbers of the students that are coming out of these universities. For the Hungarians, we always absolutely emphasize the importance of the language capabilities. Okay. So how many languages will be available at certain locations? And of course, in terms of the labor pool, the level of the wages and salaries is really key. On the other hand, we shouldn't forget about those type of financial supports and benefits that these companies can receive. No secret that this is a beauty contest between countries. Everybody would like to get BMW. Everybody would like to get BlackRock. Because this is a very important message where these companies are located, what will be the future of these locations, and of course they would like to attract these companies each and every government. And finally, the most important element is very subjective. This is the quality of life question. Quality of life means that there are many expatriates which will come and move to a new location, to a new country, to a new city, and they would like to not just work there. Germans work a lot, South Koreans work a lot, but they are going to live there. What will be the level of their living standards? How they can find international school for their kids? What are they going to do during the weekend? Where they can find kind of shopping facilities? What's the level, for example, of the healthcare system? This is very, very important. And all these questions will give the kind of answer, and there will be the right location. We're going to invest. Usually these companies make this decision in a long decision-making process. It's roughly around 1.5 or even 2 years. And finally they make a decision. It's not about competition about countries. Finally it will be a competition of a precise plan. That's what we say.
Thank you. I believe that we are at the session, but you can stay, and I hope you will stay. You can enjoy some wine, eat some snacks, and you still have a chance to ask any question, but it's going to be more face-to-face. Thank you very much for being here. And